When the speaker at the U.S. Africa City Summit said this, my jaw dropped, like, to the floor. But I couldn't help but take notes. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about my recap experience at the U.S. Africa City Summit held at Wits University. I was a speaker there on a panel to discuss the synergies between doing business in the U.S. and in Africa. And I'm gonna talk about it. So welcome if you're new here. My name is Ashley. On my channel, Ashley in Africa, I talk about my experience doing business, motherhood, and love here on the continent of Africa. I am currently living in Johannesburg, South Africa, after living in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, for a little bit over 2 years. I live here with my 2 girls, and we're loving it. We're loving life. I'm also the founder of Africa Investors Academy, a membership community of entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs and investors that are growing their businesses here on the continent of Africa, investing in projects to build wealth and retire early. So welcome back to the channel if you're not new. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel and get the message out to people that have an interest in what I share. And if you have an interest, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. So I have some notes. I definitely want to recap this jaw-dropping moment. And the conversation was around who will benefit most from the development in Africa. Is it going to be Africans? Someone's hypothesis was no. Someone's hypothesis was that China is going to develop the most from development in Africa. And this was a very multi-layered conversation because, well, there was a lot to it. So let's get into it. Why would China benefit the most from African development? Well, the theory and, kind of the data is showing that that China, it's no secret. China has been developing in Africa for nearly, I think it's 2 decades, right? They have done it for their own economic growth, not to compete with any other economy, right? China's population was growing dramatically. They needed to figure out where they could expand their population and where could they expand their population while growing their own economy. And they chose the continent of Africa. They're all over Africa. They're in South Africa. They're in East Africa. They're in Central Africa. And they're in West Africa. I don't know. I haven't been to North Africa. I haven't been to West either. But I don't hear a lot of conversation of Chinese being in North Africa, but I'm sure they are. They had this interest because their growing population, their cash liquidity power. I mean, they were very cash and liquidity heavy. So they were looking for foreign markets to invest in. They're also invested in the US. And we know that as well, right? But the development that is happening in China, the development that is happening in Africa by China is infrastructure, is hotels, it's the tourism, it's the toll roads, it's the new infrastructure that is needed to obviously boost economy. And, they're going to these investor-friendly markets. They are absolutely in the US, and they've been coming to the continent because the continent needs what? Roads, factories, infrastructure, development around the tourism. China has been doing the thing. And, when in comparison to this new US strategy for Africa, it's very misguided in the sense that it's playing a geopolitical game in competition with China, right? They're playing this kind of game that the US has always done in our economic politics of, world domination. And China is simply doing it for themselves, right? So they're not doing it to be the superpower against, now let's take a step back and I'm not in the heads of the Chinese government or what they're doing and why they're doing it, but I will say that their approach isn't in opposition of anyone else. Their approach is their own focus on self. You know how they say, the best way to attract haters is to focus on yourself or even good people in your life, love, whatever, focus on yourself, because that is when people pay attention, right? When you are focusing on yourself. And that is essentially, what's happening. China cooperated with Africa not to counter anyone, again, but simply for its own economic growth, aggressively pursuing relationships, securing access to resources. I think the similarities in China and their culture, their richness of culture, their richness of language, food, music, spiritual practices, most closely identifies with that of Africans. Right? We are very close to our culture here in the continent of Africa, our language, our food. You see how I'm saying are, right? Because I am assimilating and also, having the same experience where I'm understanding how these different foreign investors operate through a different lens of just being an American. And so that, the ability to connect on that with that level of respect, I believe is why China has been so successful, where in the past, America, the Americas, Europe, the UK, have always come with this overt dominating presence, this overt colonialism perspective, right? Speak our language, eat our food, believe our religion. China's like, do what you do, but where them resources at? Like they're not coming in creating a power dynamic. And again, I can't speak for all because there's definitely things on the media, but they didn't get here and stay here and develop here with that level of, overtness. Again, and so you can, good or bad, this is not me saying what is right or wrong. It is me simply stating what is and how it is happening. China and others, there are many growing countries, but somehow, China has really been able to do its thing in all of these countries. And what is the solution here, right? So let's now talk about action items and action steps. Understand what is happening and understand that this is a world that in the natural has limitations, but in the supernatural, there is abundance. Right? And as people of this land, that is our birthright, right? In the spirit, in the birthplace of humanity, we are the direct inheritors of that said abundance. And so our opportunities are limitless. And we don't have to be concerned with minimal resources because we are abundant people. We simply can be aware, and knowledge gives us an opportunity to understand and also take action, not sit in despair, complain, share concerns of who's doing what, who's not doing what. We now know that we can do something, and now we have tools to do something. So let me know what you think in the comments. Because I don't believe that China will be the only beneficiaries of African development. In fact, Africans, we are the beneficiaries of development in this world. We now have to take our knowing, our knowledge, remind ourselves of our power, and assert ourselves. Assert ourselves in this global economy of doing business. Assert ourselves on the most powerful continent in the world, which is the continent of Africa, and take action. So If you have an interest and you are ready to build your business and invest on the continent of Africa, I would love to work with you. As the founder of Africa Investors Academy, we are projected to grow to 100 members by December 2023. And our advisor community is growing as well. We have in membership events, member only events. We're sharing investment strategies, and we're also getting to know a community of like-minded people that are making this journey as well. So if you're interested, please visit the link below. We would love to have you. For Black Future Month, Black History in Motion, we're offering special pricing to members that join in the month of February 2023. So go ahead and visit ashleyinafrica.com/Africa Investors Academy to join us there in the community. Until the next video, I'll see you soon.